Hello friends, welcome back to the next lesson, the third lesson in this chapter of profit and loss. And we are continuing with more questions on profit and loss, more standard questions and standard structures of questions that you will see on profit and loss. And in this lesson, we are talking about the first question I'm talking about is where there are multiple transactions in a chain of selling and buying. And this kind of question is where you can have a manufacturer, the best explained through an example. There's a manufacturer who sells his items to a retailer, to a wholesaler, and let's say at a profit of 10%. And the wholesaler sells it to a shopkeeper at a profit of 20%. The wholesaler sells it to a shopkeeper at a profit of 20%. And let's say the shopkeeper sells it to a customer. A shopkeeper sells it to a customer, let's say at a loss of 15%. So if you look at this structure, let's say before I give you the full question, let's try to react to the structure that we are seeing here. And what does it say? So if I think of the manufacturer as 100 here, the wholesaler will be 110, and the shopkeeper would be buying it at 132, because this is a 20% profit. So 20% increase on 110 will be plus 22. So this PCG thinking, as you now would have understood, actually gets rid of your need to take a variable of like X in this situation. So right now you have got a shopkeeper who's purchasing at 132, but he's selling to the customer at a loss of 15%. So 15% drop on 132, if you do that calculation, 10% of 132 is 13.2, and 5% of 132 is 6.6. So you're subtracting 19.8 from 132. So if you subtract 19.8 from 132, what you will end up getting is 112.2. So if I ask you a question about what price or what percentage above the manufacturer's cost was the item sold at, the answer is 12.2%, because the manufacturer's cost is 100 and the final price is 112.2 at which it's sold. But again, in case I give you a value, suppose in this question it is told to you that the customer bought it for 56,100. The customer bought it for 56,100. In that case, 112.2 would correspond to 56,100. And use the multiplier logic I just told you in the previous question, in the previous lesson, at the end of the previous lesson, where you should realize that there is a multiplier which is constant between all these numbers. These are your assumed values, and between the assumed values and the actual values, there will be a multiplier that will be running, and that multiplier can be seen here. 112.2 if you multiply by 5, 112.2 if you multiply by 5, it becomes 561. So if you multiply by 50, you'll be able to add a 0, and since there are two zeros in the number, your multiplier is 500. So what is the cost to the manufacturer now? What is the price at which the manufacturer sold? to the wholesaler, what is the price at which the wholesaler bought it. All these numbers, no matter where the question goes from here, all these numbers you now know because you know the multiplier of 100 or 500 and you know the assumed value. So if I asked you this question, what is the cost price of the manufacturer? You'll simply multiply 100 by 500 to get 50,000 as the cost price of the manufacturer in this case. So this is one kind of question which is slightly different from what we have already seen. The 4-5 kinds of questions we've seen: the percentage, the successive markup question, we've seen the discount question, we've seen the successive discount question, we've seen the other questions that we saw in the previous lesson. And then there's an interesting question on profit and loss, which is classified as a dishonest shopkeeper question. So this kind of question, the dishonest shopkeeper question, is again an important question type because it's often asked in a lot of exams, and it's an interesting question. And if a question tells you that a shopkeeper professes to sell at cost price, he tells his customers that he is selling at cost price, and on the sly he cheats the customer by 10% on weight. He cheats the customer by 10% on weight while selling. So what is this percentage profit or in the transaction? What is the percentage profit for the shopkeeper? So in this case, the best way to think in this situation is that you assume that he is selling 1 kg. 1 kg means 1000 grams. And you assume that the price of each gram is 1 rupees. So the cost price for him of 1000 grams is rupees 1000. And since he is professing that he is selling at the cost price, his selling price for 1000 grams is also rupees 1000. Right? His selling price is also rupees 1000 for 1000 grams. Right? But the only problem is, while selling 1000 grams, he only gives 900 grams. Because he cheats the customer. When he cheats the customer, he'll give the customer less than what the customer is paying for. So he's cheating the customer by 10%, which means he's only giving him 900 grams while selling. So you have this situation where the cost price of 1000 grams is 1000 and the selling price of 900 grams is also 1000. So what's his percentage profit? Now in the previous concept lesson, video of this lesson, we had seen that whenever you have this kind of situation where the amount bought and amount sold is different, you should equate the value of the number of units sold and number of units bought. So one option you have in this question is to take this 900 grams. For 900 grams, if he is gaining 1000, for 1000 grams, how much will you gain? So if you take this to 1000 grams, you will be able to see the percentage profit he has by finding out for 1000 grams how much will he, in this situation, how much will he get in terms of the sales, in some sales revenue. But there's a better way to do this than that. Which I'll do this also, process also for you. But there's a better way to do this than that, and that is that in profit and loss problems, as I've told you, that you should equate the money, you should equate the number of items. But instead of number of items, if the money is equated, money got and money given, if these two are equal, Then you can also use this formula for percentage profit, where you can use goods left upon goods sold, goods left upon goods sold as the percentage profit. So in this case, because he's given 1000 rupees to his supplier and he's got 1000 rupees back from the customer, his profit can be measured in terms of how much goods he's left with on the basis of what he sold. So in this case, because he's bought 1000 grams and sold 900 grams, his goods left is 100 grams and his goods sold is 900 grams. So 100 by 900, which is 1 by 9. Of course, you have to multiply by 100, but by now you should have developed the thinking that every ratio like 1 by 9 has a percentage value, and even if you don't multiply by 100, mentally you should know that the value of 1 by 9 is 11.11%, and that's the answer. So the other way, of course, of this for this would have been to increase, either take the selling situation to 1000 grams or bring the cost, the buying situation to 900 grams. So if you do that, you could have also solved it with this, that while purchasing, the cost for 1000 grams is 1000, and while selling, the cost of, or the revenue from 900 grams is 1000. And if you miss the fact that the money got and money given are equated, if you miss that fact and you focus on equating the goods, you can bring down this whole purchasing scenario by 10% to get it to 900 and 900. So in this situation, goods bought and sold are equal, and then you can use a conventional profit structure on these numbers, that your cost price was 900 and your selling price was 1000. So your percentage profit is 100, which is the profit difference between SP minus CP, divided by 900 into 100, which is 11.11%. So please go ahead and do the other questions that are there in the assignment. And profit and loss is a short chapter. It's mostly, as I've told you, I always look at it also as an application of percentage chapter. So once you complete the assignments, you will be done for this chapter, and you really don't need to do much more apart from practicing a few things, right? So theoretically and structurally, in terms of the teaching aspect, this was about what you need to understand in profit and loss. Please remember those 3-4 major things that I've talked about: the use of the PCG, the use of the multiplier between the numbers that are running in your assumed values and the actual numbers, and third and most important, the fact that whenever you are buying or selling multiple goods, your focus should be on equating the goods bought and goods sold for profit calculations, or you can also go with equating the money bought and money got and money given to use the other formula, percentage profit being goods left upon goods sold. So both those options remain. And of course, before I wind up, one last question, and this is a standard formula. Let's say if you're given that a man sells 2 items, one at a profit of 20%, one at a profit of 20% and the other at a loss of 20%, and the selling price of both items are equal. Then what is this percentage profit or loss? So in this case, there is a standard formula where if you think of the percentage profit as X% and the percentage loss as X%, then in this scenario, remember this, the selling price should be equal. So in this scenario, the percentage profit or loss will always be a loss. there will be no profit in this situation. There will be always a loss, and the loss percentage will be x by 10 whole square. So because x is 20 here, so in this case you will have a 4% loss in this scenario. This is a standard question which you should know. It's being asked in all aptitude exams in the past, and you can expect it in some papers that you will give for your aptitude tests. Right, so with that I'll wind up. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and you can go through a strong learning experience. I'll be back with the next chapter in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.